All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that could totally change how you think about your online life. We're talking about moving past just being a user on some huge platform and stepping into a future where you are the founder of your own digital world. So, let me start with a question, and I bet this is going to hit home for a lot of you. Do you ever feel like the big social media sites have become this one giant, super crowded, and honestly pretty angry digital town square? A place that just feels more chaotic than connected?
For the last 20 years or so, the deal online has been pretty simple. If something's free, it means you're the product. I mean, your data, your attention, all of that is the real currency. But what if that's changing? There's a new idea popping up, one where you're not the product anymore. You're the architect.
Okay, so let's really dig into this problem. What's the big deal? I mean, what's so bad about having one huge digital space for everybody?
Well, it really boils down to this thing that sociologists call context collapse. Just think about it for a second. You've got your work colleagues, your best friends, your grandma, and that person you kind of know from your weekend hobby. All of them are crammed into the exact same feed. Yeah, the joke you'd make with your friends, probably not going to land the same way with your boss. And that's the kind of awkward friction we're dealing with all the time online.
And this leads to a really important point. On these giant platforms, we're not really citizens of a community. We're more like guests. We're basically hanging out in someone else's house, right? We have to play by their rules we had no say in, and we're being pushed around by algorithms that are built to keep our eyes glued to the screen, not necessarily to make us happy or connected.
So what's the alternative here? Is the only answer to just log off for good? Well, not necessarily. There's actually a new vision coming into focus that points to a whole new way of doing things. This new vision, it's called Social Network as a Service, or SNAAS for short. And the core idea? It's actually kind of revolutionary in how simple it is. Give people the tools to build and actually own their very own social networks.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. There are companies out there right now building the tools for this new chapter, which some people are calling Web4. You've got platforms like Web4 Studio by Linkspreed, for instance. What they do is provide the guts of it all, the code, the hosting, the templates, all the stuff that makes this idea of a personal social network a real possibility for pretty much anyone, not just a bunch of coders.
So, and this is the crucial part. This isn't just about new technology. It's a massive shift in who we are online and where the power really lies.
This whole journey, it's a huge shift in thinking. You start off as a guest, right? You're just kind of passively consuming stuff in a digital house somebody else built. But then, with these new tools, you get to become the founder. And the end game, it's about building a sanctuary.
Digital sanctuaries. That's a really powerful way to put it. Because think about it. We're not just talking about a group or a page inside some giant network. These are standalone, purpose-built online homes. They're designed from the ground up to serve the very specific needs and reflect the values of one particular community. And this is what allows for something called niche excellence. Instead of that one-size-fits-all approach that, let's be honest, often gets pretty toxic, you can create a super focused environment. Like, what if there was a global network just for people who collect rare books, or a totally private, secure place for your local neighborhood support group? The whole focus shifts away from just getting massive scale and moves towards creating genuine meaning. And this change, it goes deep. I mean, right down to the very foundation of how these networks even work. It's about building a totally different kind of architecture from the start. Think about it. When you're the one setting the rules, when you're defining the culture of your space, a huge chunk of that digital anxiety we all feel just evaporates. You're not spending all your energy trying to fight or outsmart some invisible, constantly changing algorithm that gets to decide who sees your stuff.
And that algorithm, we know now that it's often designed specifically to push the most divisive, the most emotional content to the top. It's a model that's literally built on outrage-based engagement because, hey, that's what keeps us scrolling, right?
And this is the incredible alternative. Instead of designing a system for outrage, you can design it for trust. Instead of designing for addiction, you can actually design for real, genuine connection. Suddenly, the goals of the platform are actually aligned with human values. What a concept.
This whole idea of real ownership, it's absolutely central to this concept of Web4. It's more than just tech, it's a whole new philosophy. You could call it human-centric orchestration, which is, well, it's a fancy way of saying we're putting people, not platforms or protocols, right at the center of everything.
Okay, so what does this control actually look like in practice?
First off, data. You and your community own your data. Full stop, period. Second, the experience. The whole look, the feel of the place, it can totally reflect the soul of your community. And finally, money, the economics. You get to decide if and how you want to make it sustainable, all on your own terms.
So, okay, let's zoom out. If this idea really catches on, what does the Internet of the future even look like? Well, the future doesn't have to be just a couple of giant, noisy town squares. The vision is for something way more beautiful, way more interesting, a galaxy of networks. Imagine each one as its own little star system, with its own rules, its own culture, its own reason for being. We're talking about millions of smaller, but interconnected, really vibrant spaces, and each one is specialized and unique. Now, this doesn't just make the internet more interesting, it actually makes it more resilient, more creative, because power is spread out instead of being stuck in just a few places.
There's a term for this idea, beautiful fragmentation, and that's such a great way to reframe it. See, it's not about breaking the internet. It's about saying, hey, my community, my passion, my project, it's important enough to have its own home.
And that brings us to a really powerful final thought here. To choose to build your own little corner of the internet in a world that's dominated by these huge digital empires, well, that is a fundamental act of digital optimism. It's believing that we can connect in better, deeper ways, and that we can actually own our digital futures.
So, I'll just leave you with this question to mull over. If you had the tools, if you had the total freedom to design your own perfect community space from scratch, what kind of world would you build?